heard you. So, let's get straight on to it. My very first wish for the country is the one that I believe will underpin the success of everything else, and as the one that would enable me or other strong leaders to come into power in the first place, and that is the constitutional organisation of an executive election or a direct vote for the appointment of Taoiseach. I'm happy to keep the title of Taoiseach. The Russians had a Tsar, the Egyptians had a Pharaoh. We have a Taoiseach. That's culturally unique. Let's keep it. That's brilliant. However, the job description of what the position entails does need to be reformed. People should not find themselves in a position of Taoiseach, Taoiseach, senior minister, whatever, just because they happen to be in the right party for the right length of time. That is not a way to get dynamic or inspired leadership for the country. So, what I intend to propose is, if it was your wish to become the Taoiseach of the country, you would have to get a Minister of Finance, a Minister of the Economy, a Minister of Transport, a Minister of Tourism. You would have to gather up the right team of people with appropriate credentials and good ideas for each individual portfolio and department. If you done this, then they would swear their commitment to you, which would lead to less chance of any rifts and parties dictating the direction of the country. Something as simple as a personality clash under the current government is enough to bring the whole of the country down. That's simply no good. So, what I propose instead is quite simply, you come forward in a process of an executive election. You and your team all go through individual debates for the individual departments. This would lead to a less contentious approach and would lead to more buy-in from the public, as whenever we truly scrutinised what we wanted for each individual part of the country, there would be questions for debate. They would not be as sulphurous as party politics currently is. The way that this would work is that once an individual decides that they want to become Taoiseach, they would gather up a team with all of their appropriate ministers, and if they are able to show that they have a full house with somebody for every ministerial cabinet position, they tender their application to the President. The President then accepts their application, and when this happens, they go forward to an executive election process where they would debate all the other teams who all have met the same conditions. And this is how we would be able to debate the nuances and more detail of the specific needs for the country. This is exactly the type of scrutiny that we need before an election, instead of turning around to the people and saying, this is who you're getting. Under the current system of government, nobody is elected as the Taoiseach. You can be elected as a TD for Donegal, for Cork, for Limerick, for wherever, and if you happen to be in the right party, in the right place, at the right time, by default, you can happen to end up the leader of the country. There is no ratification from the people for the leadership of anybody, and as such, there is no leadership, and as such, you have the country stagnate and the same problems recreating themselves again. So, a strong leader, who is an elected monarch for the Taoiseach, would be a far better system. Now, I'm not proposing hereditary monarchy or anything like that. How we would balance this out, I will explain now in my later videos. I know whenever I talk about a monarchy, the reservations that people would have, given their concept of what they've seen from monarchs and royal families in the past. Obviously, there's no way that you can be certain what type of child you're going to produce, and we're certainly not advocating for hereditary monarchy like our dysfunctional neighbours. But what I am proposing here is an elected monarch. This might sound like the concentration of too much power into the hands of an individual, but let me explain. I believe it is more possible for an individual to take a balanced approach, for somebody who is focused on the needs of the country, is not necessarily trying to oppress anybody, but simply looking at the pragmatic, optimal approach for the direction of the country. This is the type of leadership that I believe would be more effective than what we currently have, which lays out a template for a cesspit for war, no matter what. 104 men, no workmen, everybody in charge and nothing done. You need to put one person in charge of the direction. They need a team of people who are qualified in each individual portfolio to work in an area with which they have relevant expertise and dynamic ideas. Then we can come together and use this to give the country the strength of leadership for the scale of change that I believe we have aspired towards for generations. Gora Mila, I Hogaf.